Hi, Paige. How are you? Okay, sounds good. How's everyone doing today? All right, there he is. Thank you, thank you. Um, all right, here we go. I just connected it, so. Hey, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How's the quarantine been for you?
It's been all right. Not the easiest thing in the world, but we've been very, very fortunate. Everyone's healthy, and my youngest daughter's here with us, who just finished up law school, so she's going to be hanging out with us for a while. And we're here in beautiful Avon, Connecticut, the mean streets of Avon, getting in great shape, walking up and down hills, and hopefully some really, really bright people will find a way to help us navigate through this, find a vaccine or something to mitigate this virus, and we can get back to a normal life. But until then, the most important thing we can do is thank the doctors, the hospital workers, uh, the researchers, the people that are moving our food chain, all the people that enable us to continue to live a semblance of our normal lives. Because without them, I can't even imagine where we'd be. But we're doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I got my whole family here, so we've been staying in quarantine. I'm in Michigan, so the cases were pretty high recently, but I think we're starting to go down, which is a good thing. We're just staying safe. I've actually learned how to do a couple new things, so I taught myself how to juggle and been working out a lot. Is there anything you taught yourself how to do or something new you learned during this
You
quarantine?
can juggle now. So is Red Panda in trouble or what?
Mm, what was that?
Is Red Panda in trouble? I mean, if you're starting to juggle Red Panda, those halftime shows might be in trouble.
I mean, I'll give him a test.
No, I'm getting a little bit better with technology. Although my daughter Paige, who obviously helped arrange this, would disagree. But I've improved a little bit my understanding and use of technology, and just getting in shape. I mean, there's not a lot you could do, so I spend a good portion of my day walking all over the neighborhood. So it's which has been fun. I mean, it's great for social distancing. It's kind of an opportunity to cleanse your head and do some thinking and take time to be thankful also. So I'm getting in pretty good shape and, just kind of figuring out ways to pass the day.
Great. That's great. Now, I'm going to give you a little background about myself real quick. I'm not sure how much you know or how many posts you've seen. So, I'm the 13-year-old president of my own sports media company, Global Kid Media. And for the past 2 years, I've been working to be that first kid on national TV as a first sports sideline reporter because it's never been done before. And I want to be able to inspire millions of kids that they can do anything at any age, which is I feel like so many kids tune into sports, when there is sports every single day, and for them to see another kid would be huge, and they would get so inspired. And I have a lot of obstacles that I've been through, but man, that's the grind that you got to push through.
Well, it's a great goal. I'm not sure some of those sideline reporters right now want you taking their job, but that is, look, it's a great goal. What you're doing is inspiring for whether you end up in that position or not. Is the one thing you learn when you're working in television is reputation is so important, and your opportunity, the people that you've had an opportunity to talk with, and just the number of reps you've been able to get, and more importantly, the messaging, the ability to get these messages out through social media, which is obviously so important. It might not be someone who wants to be a sideline reporter. It might be a young person that wants to be a scientist or a doctor or whatever it might be. So I mean, what you're doing is you're following your passion. I think the most important thing, if that's your passion, commit to your passion. Yours obviously is in the broadcasting field, but someone else's might be in something else. And the biggest thing is I talk to my teams about. You get lost in what you're doing. You should get lost in what you're trying to accomplish right now, and someone else might get lost in whatever they're pursuing and whatever their passion is. So that's a great thing to be.
Yeah. And like you were saying, my whole purpose is to inspire millions of kids. It doesn't have to be, not every kid is going to want to be a journalist. Like you said, if you want to go be a doctor, go get the books, start at a young age. That's my message to parents. That a lot of times I get a message from a kid or a parent saying, I never thought of this. Like, I never thought my kid, who's 8 years old right now, in 5 or 6 years, he could be really big and start doing what he loves. And man, that's what my passion is, and that's what I'm working towards.
It's great that at such a young age you've decided and understand your passion. Also, you have a great support system in your family, and that's important. That you can't live on an island. You can't do things alone. You've got to have people that are in it with you. But if you're not passionate about something, why should you expect anyone else to be passionate about it? So I mean, like, your passion becomes contagious, whether it's someone that you're interviewing or someone else that's just watching and kind of living a little bit vicariously through what you're doing.
Now, we know you, Coach. When you were a coach, you were tough as nails. You were a tough guy, but you're surrounded by all ladies in the family. Do you have a softer side that people don't see on camera?
Oh, I'm a real marshmallow. There's no doubt about it. I mean, again, you talk about what you're doing in that moment in time. I was emotional with my players. Sometimes being emotionally intense, sometimes emotionally in the other direction. I think your wave of emotions in coaching, the highs are high, the lows are low. You've got to try to find some way to get in somewhere in the middle of that thing. But I'm passionate, but yeah, I get moved in a lot of different ways. When you have to move your family after getting let go, like say at Virginia Tech, you've got to move your family to Connecticut, or one of your daughters is still involved in school there. There are things that happen that are difficult. But I would say I was fiercely competitive as a coach, determined, and I've always been passionate.
That's great. Now, I know Paige used to travel with you a lot when you used to coach. What was that like to be able to have a family member with you at all times?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I would take one of my daughters to the Final Four, a different one each year. So that, whether it was Paige, Jackie, or Ella, we did that, and my wife would come sometimes as well. But Paige, her senior year, she was pretty much done with her classes. So her senior year, she actually went to every single road game with us, and we had an incredible year. We won at Duke, we won at Carolina. We had really a phenomenal year, and we had a lot of fun. And she made me a better coach because I would finish our film session in the evening, go back to the room and want to watch film, and she basically said, "If they don't know by now, Dad, they'll never know it." And it actually enabled me to get a better night's sleep and gave me a little bit better balance, which is really, really important. I always tell young coaches now when I try to mentor them that you work so hard to become a head coach. Once you get that job, you need to enjoy it. And sometimes when you're in the midst of it, you're living it every single day. Winning is relief and losing is misery. And that, you're totally consumed by it. But that's not why you got into coaching. You got into coaching to impact people's lives. You got into coaching to see if you can put together a plan and find a way to be successful. But it should never be a burden. Like the grind should never be a burden. It should be a passion. It should be something you enjoy. It's something that you can embrace. If it becomes a burden, then if the grind becomes a burden, then it's not really something you're passionate about. It actually becomes something that holds you back from fulfilling your potential.
For sure, for sure. Now, you were mentioning some of those ACC teams. I'm in Big Ten country, but it's funny. I've covered more ACC teams than I have Big Ten. I've covered 6. So I've done North Carolina, Duke, done a little bit of Virginia Tech, some Notre Dame. Who else have I covered? A couple other teams. So I've done a lot of ACC work, and it's fun to see all the different cultures and atmospheres at all the different stadiums when you're traveling that much.
Yeah, I mean, every place has its own identity. Like it takes time to build a culture, but identity usually is immediate. And most places that you just talked to have long-standing identities and cultures. But you're also talking about very different coaches. Like Mike Bray's easygoing, kind of woohoo. He's having a good time, and he's fiercely competitive, but he's laid back. He's probably so normal he's abnormal. I say all the time. I mean, he's just kind of an easygoing guy. And then you've got North Carolina Duke, or what I call they're the firm. I mean, they're like IBM, they're Xerox, they're Power Five. They're blue chip stocks. And then as you go throughout the league, each school or each coach or each program has its own identity.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say talking to some of the players, being a kid, I use that to my advantage and try to bring out the fun side in them sometimes. So I know last year when I was covering Duke, RJ Barrett and Trey Jones and Jack White, I had them participate in a funny face contest. So I had them all try to make their funniest face. And at the end of the day, I had my followers try to judge them and see who made the funniest face. I also had RJ talking in French. So that's always a lot of fun to go out there and see, a different side of the players.
Now, do you speak French back to him?
No, I know
So
no
you have no idea what he said to you?
no idea. I had him translate it afterwards, so he translated what he said. I asked him a question about, his family's athletic background and how that helped him. And
His dad was a good player.
yeah, his dad was a very good player.
His dad was at St. John's when I was at Pitt way back. His dad was a good player. I have a hard enough time with English, let alone trying another language.
What other languages do you speak? Just English? Anything else? Nothing?
I speak broken English and broken English. I speak coach speak. I took Spanish in high school for 3 years, and I took Spanish in high school for 3 years. That's the extent of it. I got through it and got a grade, and that's about it. I wish I was probably a little bit more serious about it, but I figured that the English spoken language is something that was going to be with me for a while, and I just hope that I don't use a four-letter word on television, and I don't speak with absolutely horrendous grammar, because what happens is when I do that, then I have 3 daughters and a wife that continually correct me. So, you'll have that to look forward to. That was the question, she'll say.
It's actually funny. I'm in my 3rd year of Spanish right now, so I'm an 8th grader, but I got a little bit ahead on the Spanish speaking side. So 3rd year of Spanish, 1st year of Chinese. I'm not very good at that, and I speak a little bit of Hindi. That's my native language. So 3 different.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
The guy that does our mixed martial arts stuff, the cage stuff, he speaks about 3 or 4 languages. Ariel, he's really, really a smart guy.
Wow. Oh, now we were talking about RJ just a second ago. I interviewed his dad too, the head of Canada basketball now, right? So he gave a lot of great wisdom. Talked to him for a minute. Man, that's another guy who he's really, really smart.
Yeah, RJ is a good kid. He it's so hard because the expectation for these players at such an early age is almost unrealistic. I mean, when he went to Duke, obviously he was supposed to be the guy. Then all of a sudden Zion became the guy, but yet Zion was very inclusive with him and bringing him in and making sure they always did those interviews together. But the expectation, whether it's coming into college or coming into the NBA, everyone thinks it's easy. Like the NBA is a very exclusive club. Yeah. It's a very exclusive club. Everyone thinks just, well, he's going to put his name in the draft. He's going to be a pro. It doesn't work that way. You've got to be able to be good enough to be part of that club. And even if you get into the club, if you don't stay in the club, there's an issue. But RJ and the manner in which those kids handled their transition from high school to college was really impressive.
Yeah. Now I want to share with you just a little couple of pictures that I've put together now of some people I've interviewed. So there's Bill Self, some Virginia Tech guys, and at the end we're going to see Giannis.
Well, did you end up going to Maui?
Yeah, we went out to Maui.
It's good being you.
My dad he does some things with travel marketing, so he was able to get us out to Hawaii. I was covering that Maui Invitational, and I sat down with Bill Self, and I actually saw a couple months ago you said you have a prediction in the NBA that Coach Popovich is going to step down and Bill Self is going to take over. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the segment was on Get Up, and it was bold predictions for 2020. So it wasn't like this is going to happen. Yeah. What they're asking you to do is kind of think outside the box. So, I mean, obviously, if you put everything together, obviously R.C. Buford's a close friend of Bill Self. Bill Self's at that time in the middle of an FBI investigation. You put it all together. You want to try to make a bold prediction. It's a fun segment. Everyone took it for verbatim, but it's a bold, it's a fun segment. It's something to kind of giggle and laugh about and just create a conversation. Bill wasn't real happy with that, but I want to know what the toughest question you asked Bill, because Bill was he was in Hawaii, and they were in the middle of and FBI notice of allegations potentially, FBI investigation and all that. Come on, do you ask him any tough questions? I mean, if you want to be the first dude now, you can't be afraid. You can't be a marshmallow. Now you got to ask some tough questions.
I did actually ask about that investigation. I said, sometimes things happen and it's about the way that you present yourself. What would you say to the kids out there? Because we're always taught not to lie. And if something comes up, we own up to it. So what would you tell the kids out there? And what he told me is that sometimes even if you do something wrong, you wish, or even if you don't do anything wrong, you wish you would have said something differently to make people, not be so suspicious. So he said it's sometimes the way how you present yourself, not necessarily that you did something wrong. It's just you wish you would have said it differently.
He is one. Bill Self is incredible. His ability. He's such a likable guy.
Yeah.
He connects so well with people. He's a terrific coach. It'll be very, very interesting. Let's put it this way: they got their notice of allegations. Obviously, they're going to fight it, but it's going to be the one thing the NCAA tries to do is connect the dots. Now, obviously, there's no way to absolutely know what certain words mean because words could be interpreted different ways. But it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Kansas. Bill's a terrific coach, and they had the best team in the country this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I want to ask you about this. I asked Coach John Harbaugh of the Ravens this question. You get to see your players get all hyped up. How were you as a coach? How did you hype yourself up for a game?
To be prepared. I mean, as a coach, look, you're going into Cameron, you're going to Dean Dome, you're playing at Comcast Center. You're excited and you want to send that message to your players. The problem is, the game isn't the first 5 minutes. You got to be able to execute for the length of the game. So you want your players at a fever pitch, but you also want them to be focused. So, I mean, to me, there were certain games you knew were bigger and that you had to take a step back and just, well, I have to look at the game through my prism so I can help our team execute and be the best that they can be. I can't be up and down on each and every play, although at times you get caught up in the moment. But, the most important thing when you're a coach is you want to be prepared. You want to be prepared for any surprises. And you've got to steal baskets. So coming out of a timeout, underneath out of bounds, side out of bounds, knowing what your opponent's going to do in a free throw situation. Like if you're playing North Carolina, if they're shooting a free throw, they're probably going to come back and scramble. If they missed a free throw, they're going to back tap. Coming out of a timeout, certain teams run certain plays. Like you play Bill Self, side of the bounds, short clock. Out of a timeout, he's going to run a flare rescreen on the backside where to try to slip and get a lob. I mean, the most important thing for a coach is to be really prepared. When you coach, what you're trying to do is eliminate the surprises and make everything you do a little bit harder so that you can help your team. You can't score a basket, you can't make an assist, you can't get a stop, but you can give them information to help them, and then you can be real with them. There are certain times you've got to coach your players hard in the game or in practice. Because there is a standard you're trying to set. You got to make sure they fulfill that standard.
So I have a question to you about when you're coaching so many different teams, like you mentioned, every team is different. You got to adjust to what that team is. Do you feel like you stay strict on one value as a coach, or do you kind of adjust the coaching plan based on the team?
Well, you're going to adjust your coverages defensively in relation to your opponent. You're also going to basically adjust what you're doing offensively in relation to the opponent. I mean, like what matchups you're going to guard, how are they going to guard a ball screen, how are they guarding staggers, how much do they switch, where's the matchup that you want to attack, and then defensively, what are you going to give, what you're going to take away. You can't let the other team's best player beat you. That's the most important thing. We were fortunate to beat the number one team in the country 4 times. Doing that, one thing we always said was, there's an art of an upset. First and foremost, the art of the upset is own the tempo of the game. You can't let your opponent own the tempo of the game. The second thing is limit live ball turnovers and second shot opportunities because you can't give away extra possessions, especially when you're playing against a great team. Then fourth is you cannot let the other team's best player beat you because everything they have set up, these are the best player, whether it's as a playmaker or a scorer or whatever, you can't let that happen. And then finally, you've got to need someone to step up. And if you do those things, you have a better chance to win. But you've got to look at every game as a separate entity. In a big picture, what you want to do is put together your system to beat the best teams in your league. And if they're good enough to beat the best teams in your league, you can beat those other teams as you tweak them.
Yeah. Okay, so my next question to you is about, you know, how tough the opponents, you know, like based on their best player, you said you adjust the game plan. As you
But you
played
just
the
don't let that guy beat you. You either deny him the ball, you trap him, you do a lot of different things to make it really, really, really hard on them.
Okay. Okay. Now, let's switch to a different subject here. As you look into if the tournament happens this year, this was such a year just full of upsets. Like it was anyone's game. And so, what do you think would happen had there been an NCAA tournament? What do you think the outcome would be?
Yeah, I think there would have been some upsets in the first two rounds, like there always are. I'm not sure a real outlier would have won it. I think Dayton was a team that was really, really good. Might have been in conversation. I'm not sure they were good enough to win it all, although they, look, I had Obi Toppin, who was a brutal matchup. They have really, really good guard play, uh, which is important. They had a toughness and a confidence. I thought Kansas was the best team in the country. We saw Kansas at Baylor. I thought that they got better. Dotson was hard to keep out of the lane. I thought that they started shooting the ball better from the perimeter. Moss started to get a better understanding of what Coach Self wanted. Doka was, I call him a mountain masquerading as a man. I mean, he was different. He was the immovable object. He changed kind of what they did because, again, you talked about it when you played against them, you had to figure out, one, could you take him out of transition? And then what were you going to do with Udoka in terms of were you going to side him, were you going to front him? If you front him, they throw over the top. If you play behind him, he backs you in. And then how you were going to guard those ball screen actions with Dotson, which Dotson really got really good. They had Marcus Garrett, who was an elite defender. I thought he was terrific. Abaji was a hard multi-positional player. I thought he was really, really good. So, I mean, hold on a second. Let me just kill this here. When I look at it, I thought they were really good. I thought Michigan State was playing really well at the end of the season. I thought that they had really taken a step forward in terms of development. Rocket Watts was giving them really good minutes as a guy who could defend and push it in transition and complement Cassius Winston. Cassius Winston, I thought, was going to have a great NCAA tournament. Everything he'd been through with the passing of his brother, he could see the finish line. He got to that point of the season where you could see the end, and I thought that was really important because it was just an emotional strain on him. So I think it would have been really, really interesting, the NCAA tournament. You had some teams. Duke was interesting. I thought they would have been. I thought Virginia was getting better, although they struggled to score at times. I thought there were probably 10 to 12 teams that had a legitimate shot to get to the Final Four, with Gonzaga being right alongside of Kansas. Gonzaga was really good if they stay healthy.
Now, here's a great question I got in the comments from Champagne Yankee Fitness. His name's Nathan. He does podcasts too. He's really good, and he's building up. So, I mean, I would go on his podcast after this. But he was asking, what's the most memorable game that you've coached?
I've been fortunate. I had a lot of different type of memories. Probably the one people would point to is when I was at Long Beach State and we went into Kansas. They were number one in the country with Roy Williams, and we just lost by about 100 points to VCU. We made this trip east, played a game on Thursday night, played VCU on Saturday. Our flight was late. We got it. We didn't get in until Saturday at like late afternoon, and we had played a game that night. We lost by about 100. And then we had to fly to Kansas the next day and play in Lawrence on a Monday night. They were number one in the country, and we went into one of the great venues in the history of all of college basketball. Fog Allen Arena, Behe, Duhall, whom enter, beware of the fog. It's the greatest sign of any sign in college basketball. It's in the one end zone. And we went in, we won the game wire to wire. We won by 16 points. It was I had two pros, Lucius Harris and Brian Russell. That was a great one. Winning at Duke after losing on a half-court buzzer shot 2 years prior or the year prior was probably memorable. Winning in overtime at North Carolina was memorable. But that Kansas win was something else.
Now, I have a question for you. You were in Virginia, Virginia Tech, and me and my dad were going on a road trip this past winter to get to North Carolina to cover North Carolina Duke. And on the way there, I think there was so many unmarked cars in Virginia. We got a speeding ticket for going. I think they gave us reckless driving for going 10 or 15 over the speed limit.
I can't help you with it.
How in the world do you drive in a state like that where there's just unmarked cars everywhere?
You know, I got my share of tickets. In fact, our family got pulled over so many times. One of the campus officers said to us, "Your family's just got to slow down." But you know, the Commonwealth of Virginia, it's got to take your time, enjoy the beautiful scenery, especially if you're going through Southwest Virginia. There's some beautiful scenery there.
Yeah, yep, yep. We went through West Virginia too, and West Virginia last year when we went to Duke to cover a game there. On the way back, we got in a car accident, so they didn't clean the roads, and we were just going probably 50 miles per hour on the highway because we were already taking caution. We just hit a little ice patch and did a 360 a couple of times and went to the guardrail. Thank God no cars were coming. It was oncoming traffic, but you got
Black ice is hard because you don't see. That's the one thing when you drive in those areas where the weather changes from hot to cold. If you get any rain, you get that black ice. And we had that problem once. We just came back from beating Penn State, flew back on our charter. Our whole staff lived in the valley. So we all followed each other back through the valley to get to our homes, and we all crashed into each other and ended up having to go back and staying at a hotel that night. Black ice will get you every time.
Yeah, I'm in Michigan, so tell me about it. I think it was snowing yesterday or 2 days ago here in Michigan, and today it's like 60 degrees, so the weather's crazy here for sure.
No doubt.
So tell me about some of your hobbies. What are your favorite things to do?
My favorite things to do, well, I've played more golf since I've been out of coaching than I've played in my lifetime. So that's the only way I get competition now. I like, like I've spent my whole life having a winner and a loser. So the opportunity to play golf and compete, one of the things I miss most about coaching is competing, putting together a plan and seeing how the plan works. Now, my plan in terms of golf is just, you just slash it around a little bit. But I enjoy golf. I work out, spend time with my family. Those are kind of basically my hobbies. And then I spend a ton of time, even this time of the year, preparing for next season. I've already begun to get my ideas organized for best backcourts, best front courts, best teams, sleeper teams, things like that. I'm just starting to kind of begin to put things in categories. I'm a big list guy. I want to go into the season through Feast Week with a kind of a little bit of a blueprint of what to expect. Like everyone talked about Obi Toppin. If you go back to while you were living life of luxury in Maui, all right, I was just grinding away in the studio, but while you were just working, deciding when you were going to turn over to make sure you didn't burn or anything, I was breaking down tape of Obi Toppin, and before he played his first game in Hawaii, we did a whole thing on Obi Toppin. But you probably didn't see that because you were too busy probably get on a surfboard or walking the beach with Jay Billis or something.
That's actually funny. We were at that event that Jay Villas had the luau with all the coaches, so it's funny you bring that up. Yeah, I mean, I love golf. I've never played golf in my entire life, but I interviewed Jack Nicklaus and a couple of other people when they were in this area. So yeah, I love that sport of golf. What other sports do you have a talent in, a weird talent in that nobody knows about? Like, is it football? Is it baseball?
No, I played Little League Baseball for a long time. I played tennis competitively when I was younger. Wasn't all that good. I was okay. But I locked into basketball at a young age, and then I played for a great college coach. And then I always wanted to get into coaching, and I was part of this five-star basketball camp, Tree, that was really, really good to me. That's where I kind of started my passion for coaching. I got a chance to listen to UB Brown give a lecture, and that lecture changed my life. He impacted me to the point where I said, I'd love to be able to have an opportunity to do this. And I grew up through the five-star camp with the John Calipari's and the Rick Pitino's and so many coaches. Brendan Malone, whose son Michael Malone is now the coach of the Nuggets, uh, and developed an incredible number of contacts and network. And fortunate for me, I had enough people that believed in me and gave me opportunities to really chase my dreams.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that for me, like everywhere I go, like I said, there's a lot of obstacles in my way being a kid, so I never have access to most things. Sometimes college basketball with Duke and North Carolina, there's access, but most of the places I go, like when I was in Maui, I was working all night, like through the night, just hanging out at the hotels, waiting for players to come out and talk to them and interview them, and then going to the next hotel and waiting there. We went on a long road trip this Christmas time when there was a semifinals, which was with Oklahoma versus LSU. So we drove out to Atlanta 12 hours, and we just hung out at the hotels that night. When we got there, we waited until 7 or 8 a.m. In the hotel before we went, got some sleep, came back. And after that, we decided to go further to Orlando, which was another 7 hours to go cover Alabama and Michigan and the Under Armour All-American game for football. And then we on the way back, that's when we covered Kentucky. So we stopped. We were just driving. We turned on the radio, and we heard that Kentucky just finished up their basketball game. So we swung by there, caught a couple players. We were trying to catch Tyrese, and we didn't catch him all day. So we were just at the end of the day, we were kind of just enjoying the campus, looking around. And we're like, okay, we'll go to one more spot, and then we're going to leave because it was getting late at night, and we still had a long drive to go. And we ran right into him, so I got to talk to him, and we did a little dance contest. And so, but that's the grind that I go through. I
Now,
travel.
all this driving, do you stay up or does your dad drive and you sleep?
Uh, it depends. Sometimes I have to. He's not very good with technology and stuff, so he's old, so I have to give him direction.
Easy on the old stuff now. Come on now.
I have to give him directions though through the GPS, and so sometimes that keeps me up a long time. I normally have to do homework. I missed 30 plus days of school this year, and I take advanced high school classes. So I take 3 years ahead in math, science, and English. I'm in eighth grade, and so I'm trying to do homework during that time. I also play sports year round, and so it's a tough balance for me doing all those things. So I'm either doing homework, I research in the car, or I'm calling hotels to do partnerships. So that's the other side of being a business person. I've learned some business skills to try to make partnerships. So when I go places, I cancel out most of my expenses through hotels and destinations. When I go to restaurants, I partner with them, hotels, and we went to the Super Bowl this year. We weren't planning on going, and we didn't have any access or anything. But MSC Cruises, they sponsored me on the Thursday of Super Bowl weekend. So we booked a flight. We went out there and just hung out at hotels again all night.
It's tough being you, man. It's tough being you. When I grow up, I want to be you.
Man, I love the work you do. Love the work you do. Now, one thing I want to do, one segment I always do, is I flip the switch. I have the person I'm interviewing me. So let's do that right now.
Well, I'd say I think I've been interviewing you. What was your favorite event to cover?
Favorite event to cover? I love the All American high school football game. So that was a really fun event. There was EJ Smith, who's Emmett Smith's son, and he's a really, really smart kid. He's going to Stanford now, so that was fun. I talked to him. I talked to some other guys. So most of the times I'm covering people who are so much older than me and bigger than me. So to cover people at my own age, not my own age, but just 4 or 5 years older than me was pretty cool. I liked covering the Pro Bowl 2 years ago in 2019. There's a contact who supported me, so I was able to get out there, talk to Von Miller, had a really fun interview with him, Patrick Mahomes, a lot of guys there. And then unfortunately, that contact left, and now there's a different contact who doesn't support me. She says I'm a security risk being young, and I'm too young, but I did it last year. And there's kids who win contests and go out there and cover it, but you know, it is what it is.
Where do you want to go to school?
I want to. So far, I don't know yet. I want to go to good business school because I think by the time I get to college, I want to have a good business degree. So, I mean, the Harvard Business School is a place to be. So, hopefully, we checked out that campus when we were in Boston. So,
You have a favorite team? Are you a Michigan guy or a Michigan State guy?
it's funny. My family members between them, they've gone to both. So, my dad actually went to both Michigan and Michigan State. And so, growing up, it was never Michigan or Michigan State. It was I hate Ohio State, I hate Duke, I hate North Carolina. I covered all those teams, and now I love those teams so much. And it's actually funny. I get more support from those teams than I do from Michigan and Michigan State as far as access to covering players. So I make my own connections that way. But it's crazy how I used to not really like any teams but Michigan and Michigan State. Now I like every team by seeing all the different cultures.
What was the toughest interview you ever had besides this one?
um, Toughest interview I've ever done. That's a hard one. I normally ask the hard questions, so normally they get intimidated by me. So there's no one who makes it a tough interview on me. But uh, I don't know if there has been like a really tough one. I enjoy all my interviews, and I get something different out of everything. So I learn from something from everyone I interview, and that's what I love about doing this.
All right, here's the question then. This is called the follow up. What did you learn today?
What did I learn today? I learned that Seth Greenberg is a really, really fun guy. Top analyst on ESPN.
Hey, tell that to Billis.
I'll have to call him right after this.
Yeah, straighten him out, will you please? He's too busy fighting with Mark Emmert. What's the best advice your dad's ever given you? Obviously, he's a big part of what you're doing.
Yeah, the biggest thing I feel like my dad has told me is because he used to be an MBA student, so he's an Indian who grew up in America. He wanted to bring culture to the Indian culture to people here. So when like Indian actresses and singers would come to the U.S., he would stand outside their events for hours and hours, just like we're doing now, um, to try and talk to them and talk to them about doing some things with entertainment. So he always tells me the most important thing when you're covering an event is act like you've been there before. If you don't act like you've been there before, then you look out of place and you look like you don't belong there. And you don't want to do that. You want to walk into everything with confidence.
You have any brothers or sisters?
I have an older sister, so she's actually preparing to take an AP exam tonight. She's in 10th grade. She's in 10th grade, but she skipped in a grade, so she's in 11th grade, and she's on a interesting educational path. So she got ahead a couple years in math and science, and she wrote a 30-page business plan when she was in 7th grade, and now she's a tutor, so she has an
There
interesting.
you go. So have you ever interviewed her?
Have I interviewed her? No, not at all. She's
Come
more
on.
she's more smart than I am, like academically, but when it comes to like speaking and stuff like that, she's good at communicating, but she's never interested in talking to me. I don't understand why. Like obviously I'm the best brother in the world, so that doesn't make any sense to me.
I can't understand it. I don't know because you're going when you were in Miami. Where was you? When you were in Maui? Where were you?
She was with
When you were in Miami, where was she? I should say.
she was with me. She was enjoying the hotel, going to the beach, going on, enjoying Maui while I was standing
So
in a.
she owes you.
Yeah, she
There
owes
you
me.
go. Hold that over her head a little bit.
I was in New York City meeting with people, and she was going around, going Times Square with my mom.
I don't know. Maybe you got the tough end of the straw or something here. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's better being your sister.
Uh, I wouldn't say so. I'm glad to be me. I can't imagine being her. So you have any pets? What's the pet?
Jake the Wonder Dog, the world's greatest wonder dog. He's my main man. He's not here right now. He's laying on a couch somewhere. But
Okay.
he's my right hand man. Jake is
Okay.
the man.
What's his name?
Jake.
Jake. Okay.
Jake was we had a dog that passed away, and the people that used to help us out at our house I was coaching Blacksburg. We're actually vacationing somewhere, and they saw Jake wandering the streets of West Virginia. Brought him to to the people, the pet control there, and on the way back, they saw him back again, and they ended up picking him up and bringing him home. It was the day we were going to play Duke, and I came back from our shoot around, and my girls were sitting there outside the house, and they're all laughing and giggling. And I tried to figure out what was so funny, and they're all laughing. And I walked in the house. I sat in the steps on the way to go upstairs, and all of a sudden, out of the kitchen comes Jake the Wonder Dog. Walks in, puts his head in my lap. It was all over. Done. Jake had me. He
Uh,
was a legend.
Man, I think my dad's watching this, so we gotta get him to get me a dog. I want an animal really bad.
Yeah, the problem is, you're going all over the country. He's going to end up having to take care of the dog.
I mean, my mom and sister are home. My grandparents live with us too, so there's a lot.
So you want the benefits of the dog without doing all the dirty work.
I mean, I go on runs every day, so I'll take the dog for the run. That's about my commitment.
All right. Last thing. My last question. If you had a dog, what would you name him?
I've always wanted to name a dog Lucky. I have no idea why. I've just always thought that was a really cool name for a dog. And so if I could name any dog anything, I would name it Lucky.
I would think, being your dog, that dog would be very lucky.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Now, I got one thing I actually want to bring up to you. I've had an idea for about a week now that I've been trying to work on. Since I'm Global Kid Media, I want to help the families that have been impacted by COVID, the kids directly who have lost a parent to the virus. And I want to pitch to you my idea. So my idea is to try to get a couple of corporate partners who will be willing to donate about $1,000 to these families. And I want to do some big star interviews. And for every star interview I do, they donate to those families. And, you know, it'll be beneficial to the families, especially all the athletes who want to pitch in and help. And I think it'll be good for the companies because, number one, they're helping people with COVID. And number two, they're also getting good publicity about it. So I don't know what you think about that idea.
Well, I'd say probably the smartest thing to do is try to connect with some supermarket chains.
Okay.
Obviously, they're in a way benefiting from the virus. They're keeping America fed, and those type of things. I also try to partner with Feed America. I actually done some things with them, and just in terms of trying to get whatever money is raised back into the community.
Yeah, and I want all the proceeds to go 100% to these families. That's the tough part is because I think PayPal and GoFundMe, they all use a percentage of the money for themselves, and I don't want any 1% to go to anyone but people. So, you know, that's what I want to do.
I would use your research, look up coaches that are already involved with, or athletes that are already involved with doing different things in terms of philanthropically to help people that are obviously struggling due to the virus, and then maybe you can try to connect through there, and just another platform for them to get out their word, and then obviously use that to raise money.
Yeah, again, on social media, when I reach out to people, most of the times I get maybe a 1% response rate. So that's the tough part for me is getting those athletes to respond. When I interview them, most of the times they'll say, yeah, I'll check it out. I'll give you a shout out or whatever. But normally that doesn't end up happening, unfortunately. But
that's the real world. In the real world, you get told no a lot more than you get told yes. I mean, I spent 30 something years recruiting. You get more no's than yeses. That's all about just putting good days on top of each other.
And I would say
You're trying to do that, put good days on top of each other, stay the course, stay consistent, get in a routine, especially now because of the limited access to things you can do. Get in a routine, make a list of things you want to do every day, check them off each and every day. So at the end of the day, you can look and you can see what you accomplished that day. So that's all part of it,
And I would say
no's before you get yeses.
I would never trade out all the no's I've gotten because they've helped me learn so much. And even I've had a lot of security trouble where security just wants to kick me out of things. When I was covering the Final Four last year, I had a media badge, and there was Zion Williamson's press conference, and so I was in there when I walked out. The security guard took my phone and started deleting my pictures for no reason, and so I talked to another security guard, and they said she was wrong. And I've gone to the Alabama team hotel, and a security guard tried to kick us out of a public hotel before.
Do you work through the SIDs?
I've tried. Normally, they want to deny me access because they say, like, if we get you in, then we'll have to get all the kids in, and then it'll turn into a circus. And I say, have all the kids done the work that I've done? Like, my work speaks for itself. But that's why I have to build connections on my own.
Keep building those networks. I got to run here because I've actually got a show to do for Hall Pass Media. I've got Coach Brooks, I've got Coach Smart, and I've got Coach Musselman, and we're doing a weekly show talking about the Last Dance, and then we're going to talk about obviously dealing with the virus in terms of building a team and staying team. We're going to try to get Coach Brooks to give us a little insight into what's going on in the NBA. So we're going to be going live in about an hour. I've got a conference call. I've got to get on with that. But keep doing your thing, man. You're doing a great job.
Okay, I really appreciate all of your time, and this is a great talk. Before you go, I just want to say one thing. If you could reach out to some people at ESPN or whatever and let them know about me, I'd really appreciate that because that's the big step to getting there. And
do I get 10%?
Yeah.
Are you trying to use me?
No.
Man, oh man, I thought you wanted me for my stimulating conversation and insight. Now all of a sudden you're beating me up.
Dang it, you didn't take it. No, I'm kidding. I know you gotta ask. In order to achieve. So I just wanted to let you know, and I really appreciate all of your time. I wish you well. Hope everyone stays safe.
That's good. Stay safe and keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing great, man.
I appreciate it so much.
Right, stay well. Tell you, and make sure you thank your parents.
I will.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.